Virgil Oldman is an eccentric, expert art and antiques appraiser and auctioneer who runs a high-end auction house. His meticulous descriptions of items like the pinewood marriage chest, walnut sideboard, and oak veneer cabinets reveal deep knowledge of historical craftsmanship, styles, and periods. His ability to spot a potential centuries-old painting beneath moldy wood underscores his skill in evaluating and authenticating valuable antiques and artworks. Known for spotting forgeries, Virgil is solitary, wears gloves, avoids personal connections, and dines alone, emphasizing his isolation. Claire Ibbotson contacts Virgil, admitting, "I'm not in the habit of speaking to people much." Oldman replies, "That's a considerable stroke of good fortune. Talking to people is perilous." Claire explains, "It's about the furniture in my parents' villa. They died a year ago. I've always heard it's extremely valuable, rare pieces, including paintings." She wants Virgil to value the estate, noting, "My father said if I decided to sell, I should entrust the auction to Virgil Oldman." At an auction, Virgil showcases his expertise and aloof demeanor. Lot 232, disciple of Boris Gregorian, thrust, oil on canvas, 60 by 70 inches. A flurry of bids ensues and Billy Whistler wins the painting. Later, Virgil visits the villa Claire mentioned, finding it abandoned, neglected for years, with locked gates. He waits at a nearby bar before leaving. Billy Whistler delivers the auctioned painting to Virgil, saying, "You never miss a trick, do you?" Virgil hands Billy his share, and Billy remarks, "We've pulled off some sharp tricks time after time. Remember Milo Henson? You were the only one who knew he'd be big. We got that portrait for a song right under their noses. It must be worth a fortune now." Virgil responds, "You almost sound bitter you didn't get more." Billy laments, "My only regret is never convincing you my paintings show great talent." Virgil retorts, "Loving art and holding a brush don't make an artist. You need a knack you've never had." After Billy leaves, Virgil studies the painting intently while dining, then takes it to a secret room hidden behind his glove closet. Unbeknownst to others, Virgil amasses a private collection of female portraits by undervaluing authentic pieces at auctions, with Billy Whistler's help. Virgil fumed, "In my 36 years in this business, no one has ever had the audacity to keep me waiting for 40 minutes. It's a disgrace, a blatant display of bad manners." Ibiston replied, "Let me explain. I tried to call." Virgil snapped, "There's no excuse. Never come near me again. Nobody answered, and I don't have your mobile number." Ibiston said, "I don't have a mobile." Virgil's assistant interjected, "It's the Ibiston woman on the phone. She's crying. She was hit by a car on her way to meet you." "It's no concern of mine," Virgil said dismissively. The assistant continued, "She was covered in a pool of blood by the time the ambulance arrived." Virgil sighed and agreed to speak with Ibiston. On the phone, Ibiston pleaded, "Please forgive me." She then asked for another appointment with Virgil. Virgil replied, "I'll send my assistant instead." Ibiston said, "I hope it's the same assistant I spoke to last time." "What do you mean?" Virgil asked. Ibiston explained, "I can't quite explain it, but from the moment I heard the voice, I was certain it could only have been yours, Mr. Oldman." While speaking with Ibiston, Virgil examined a photocopy of a wooden piece he had found during an appraisal. He noticed, as he suspected, a painting hidden beneath the dust on the wood. After the piece was fully restored, the painting was revealed. However, upon closer inspection, Virgil declared, "It's a fake. It's not authentic. This is a work by Valiante, the female forger of the 16th century. She copied masterpieces but couldn't sign them as a woman, so she marked them with a personal code hidden in the folds of the drapery, or, in this case, in the gaze of the subject. Look, on the iris of the lady in the painting, there's an etched V. It's Valiante. It's worth something, but nothing compared to the original." Virgil visited Ibiston's home again. Fred, the caretaker, greeted him at the gate and said, "Miss Ibiston has a fever." As Virgil turned to leave, Fred added, "She asked if you would proceed with the valuation. She instructed me to show you around. The place has gone to rack and ruin since her parents died." Virgil asked, "How long has it been since the owners passed?" Fred replied, "By the look of it, you'd think it was centuries ago, but it's only been a year." First Mrs. Ibbersten, then, scarcely 45 days later, poor Mr. Ibbersten. Have a good look. Take your time, Fred said. Too many windows in this room. Virgil inquired, how many brothers and sisters does Miss Ibbersten have? Fred answered, she's an only child. Is she married? Virgil asked. No, Fred replied. I don't think she even has a boyfriend. What about grandparents, aunts or uncles? Virgil pressed. None, Fred said. As far as I know, Miss Ibbersten is on her own. Virgil remarked, so many rooms. Fred chuckled. You know, I've never managed to count them all. Have there been other valuations before mine? Virgil asked. Yours is the first, Fred replied. Miss Ibbersten is extremely fond of this house. She'd prefer to keep everything, but what can she do? The empire crumbles and she can't cope. Is she thinking of putting the house up for sale as well? Virgil asked. I don't know, Fred said. Maybe a part of it. She won't get rid of the whole place. What kind of work does she do? Virgil asked. I couldn't say, Fred replied. I only dealt with her parents. Virgil said, I want to see the cellar. In the cellar, Virgil found an old mechanical gear and took it to Robert for examination. Robert studied it and said, I honestly don't get it. Virgil responded, in all the time I've known you, I've never seen you stumped. I've watched you craft all manner of gadgets from the most unremarkable ironwork, but you have nothing to say about this curious contraption. Robert replied, I'm surprised an art connoisseur like yourself can get so carried away by a banal piece of ironwork. It's not the object that arouses my curiosity, but its contradiction, Virgil explained. I found it in contact with the damp flooring, yet the rust is all along the top of the cogs, nowhere near the damp. That means the object hasn't been there long, it rusted somewhere else, or someone turned it upside down. A woman enters the shop. This works perfectly now, she says, holding the repaired item. I transcribed the recording from the tape. You're a genius. How much do I owe you? He smiles and replies, nothing. Perhaps you'll invite me out sometime. She gives him a quick kiss and leaves. Virgil Oldman is authenticating art pieces, checking for forgeries. He examines works like William Adolphe Bouguereau's The Birth of Venus and Umberto Verruda's The Honest, 1890. On a call, Ibbersten says to Virgil, You've been the talk of the town lately. I hope to see you on TV. Virgil responds, I don't like to appear. I prefer to remain in the shadows. Ibbersten chuckles. We're much the same in that way. That doesn't mean we'll agree, Virgil replies. Ibbersten asks, how do you know a painter will become collectible? Intuition, Virgil says, which also makes me doubt your intentions. Ibbersten responds, I'm sorry for giving that impression, but I've entrusted you with my belongings. Virgil counters, that's not how it works. There must be a signed contract before I begin the inventory. Go ahead with the inventory, Ibbersten says. I'll meet you at the villa. While assessing the furniture at the villa, Virgil asks Fred, where is she? It's 11 o'clock and the appointment was at 8:30. One of the assistants reports, the piano doesn't need restoration. Last time, there was a missing key. Virgil turns to another assistant. Would you help me with the bookcase, please? Inspecting it, he notices damage and asks, who smashed the glass? The assistant replies, it was already broken. Virgil asks Fred, is this part of the house inhabited? There have been some changes. Fred assures him, I promise, nobody lives here. Virgil says firmly, if Ibbersten isn't here by midday, I'll suspend operations. Fred discovers a set of mechanical gears on the floor. He then says, Ibbersten is on the phone. She apologizes and says, I cannot touch your things without a contract. Is that clear? Virgil responds, tell her to leave the contract on the table in the hallway. Ibbersten continues, I'll sign it. I accept all your conditions. Virgil replies, yes, but I don't accept yours. I won't do business with a silly, superficial phantom. Suddenly, a ladder falls and the sound echoes through the phone. Suspicious, Virgil rushes upstairs as Ibbersten claims she can't meet him due to a series of unfortunate, unintentional mishaps. What exactly happened today? He asks. My car was stolen, she says, and I had to go to the police station, the one in the city on the main square. Virgil kicks a chair and the sound reverberates through the phone. Are you here, Ibbersten? He demands. What kind of question is that? She replies. Are you here? He repeats. If you are, come out now. Explain this game. I don't find it amusing. Call me tonight, she says. I'll explain. Virgil brought the mechanical gear he found today to Robert. Robert examined it and said, it's the same material and workmanship as the other piece. They belong to the same system. Is there a signature or inscription? Virgil asked. Robert replied, once I removed the rust and oxidation from the other piece, there was nothing. I can clean this one too, but right now I don't see anything. As Robert inspected the gear further, he noticed something unique. Virgil asked, what have you found? Robert explained, the technique, how the cog is attached to its axis, is ancient. I've never seen it before. Virgil took a closer look and said, it's 18th century craftsmanship. Robert nodded. We could be onto something big here. Virgil asked Fred, how old is Ibiston? Fred replied, I don't know much about Ibiston. In my 11 years with the family, I've never seen her. Miss Ibiston suffers from a strange illness. Virgil called Ibiston and said, I apologize for being rude, but I must confirm my availability. At the same time, I cannot allow this charade to continue. Ibiston responded, I wish you to cease all involvement in my affairs. I apologize for the trouble. Virgil was conducting an auction for Portrait of a Lady by Valiante, a 16th century work inspired by Petrus Christus's Portrait of a Young Girl. He opened the bids at £20,000. His accomplice, Billy Whistler, was among the bidders, as was an elderly woman who kept raising the stakes. When Virgil declared Billy Whistler the winner, the woman protested, I bid £90,000, Mr. Oldman. You should have noticed. Virgil replied, I don't believe so, Mrs. Derain. Billy Whistler bid £90,000. He was the only one. The woman next to Mrs. Derain interjected, she bid first. I saw it. Mrs. Derain declared, I'm the biggest collector of Valiante forgeries, and I'll see you in court. Virgil, furious, shouted at Billy Whistler, you were too slow, Billy. You didn't get your bid in on time. Billy responded, we've lost bids before, but you've never been this angry. Virgil snapped, that's because it wasn't a Valiante forgery. It was a genuine Petrus Christus, worth £8 million. Billy said, even when we lost Van Gogh's Lady with a Fan, you didn't get this angry. What's going on, Virgil? Virgil visited the bar across from Ibiston's villa. Inside, a dwarf girl was continuously counting numbers aloud. Virgil noticed Fred carrying supplies into the villa. Afterward, he went to Robert's shop, where Robert was chatting with two women. After the two women left, Virgil entered Robert's shop. I've cleaned the gears with a special fluid and studied them closely. Look what I found, Vaucanson etched on the ironwork. Jacques Vaucanson was an 18th century constructor of automata. Virgil, intrigued, said, I wrote a thesis on him. One of his most famous androids could talk. People paid to ask it questions, and it would move its head, bow, and reply. Robert smirked. I bet there was someone inside that android. But the mystery no one could explain was how Vaucanson's automaton always got it right. Of course, there was trickery in making it talk, but everything it said was true. Robert added, bring me all the pieces, and I promise to reassemble them exactly as Vaucanson designed. Virgil replied, I don't doubt you, but I fear I've lost my chance to find the missing pieces. Robert said, they must be in the same place you found these. While leaving the shop, Virgil was introduced to Robert's girlfriend. Virgil Oldman's assistant informs him that Miss Ibistone called, requesting a meeting at 2:30 p.m. at the Ibistone Villa. I'm extremely grateful to you for coming, Mr. Oldman, says Miss Ibistone from behind a wall. If anyone is in the house or villa, I lock myself in here. I hardly ever saw my parents. I don't see anyone. Virgil asks, why? She responds, why do you go around wearing gloves? It's a matter of hygiene, Virgil replies. Miss Ibistone counters, you're afraid to touch others. Touching their possessions disgusts you. I'm afraid of going to places where others live. Virgil asks, are you saying you haven't walked the streets in 12 years? I walk quite a bit inside the villa when no one's here, but I never go out, she explains. I hope, within the scope of your work, you'll help me. Please leave the contract on the table. You'll find it signed next time. Now I'm very tired. Later, Virgil asks, what made you decide to call me again? Miss Ibistone replies, I was struck by the way you looked at my house yesterday from the bar across the street. Virgil hands a mechanical ironware part he found at the Iberstone villa to Robert. Robert asks, how much would the automaton be worth if we managed to make it work? Virgil responds, there are strict rules in the world of antiques. It's forbidden to reveal one's sources. While at the villa, Virgil discovers another gear. Fred says, there are a few more gears, but bigger, in that corner. Virgil instructs, gather them together. I'll handle the cataloguing myself. Miss Iberstone asks, what have you decided about the furniture in this wing? We're only drawing up the inventory, Virgil replies. Later, you can tell me what to leave out. Miss Iberstone, Virgil says, I can't help thinking about your situation. I'm sorry for intruding, but I've been wondering how you can live like this. I'm organized and self-sufficient. I don't need any help, she asserts. Miss Iberstone slides the signed contract under her door. When Virgil notes that her personal details are missing, she provides her passport. Noticing Virgil's appearance, Miss Iberstone remarks, I'm disgusted by people who don't trust their own hair. Furious, Virgil retorts, I don't trust people who think so highly of themselves that they won't come outside. Fred, a worker, informs Virgil, there are no caretaker services starting Monday. I'll just come in to bring Miss Iberstone her shopping. He hands over the villa keys, saying, Miss Iberstone asked me to give these to you in case you need access for further inspections. When you enter, slam the door, Fred advises, otherwise she'll get scared and panic. Virgil confides in Robert, a friend of mine met a younger woman with agoraphobia. Robert clarifies, you mean fear of open spaces and distances. Virgil continues, she's lived for years locked in her apartment alone. Recently, she gave him her keys, and ever since, he's been in a state of constant anxiety. Robert nods. Now he'll be constantly worried about her, thinking about what she needs. Iberstone asks, are you angry with me because I asked about your hair? He continues, I'm calling to ask if you want the sale of the furniture to be identified by your family name, or do you prefer anonymity? She replies, I want it to be anonymous. Iberstone tells Virgil, I saw you on TV. You're more intriguing this way. You'll be a great success with the ladies. Iberstone doesn't answer Virgil Oldman's calls for several days. Virgil inquires about Iberstone from Fred. Fred responds, it's been a while since I heard from her. I've been ill all week. Virgil asks, who's been bringing her food? Virgil takes some essentials to Iberstone but notices blood on the floor. Panicking, he kicks at Iberstone's door, fearing something has happened to her. Iberstone, crying, shouts, go away. He responds, nobody's here, don't panic. Please tell me what happened. Iberstone explains, I wasn't well. I didn't know who to call, then I fell and hit myself. Virgil visits Robert's store and asks, can you fix a broken auctioneer as well? He then inquires, how is our toy coming along? Robert answers, there are too many parts missing. We can't establish what kind of character he is. Virgil muses, like my friend and the girl in the tower. Robert nods, yeah, maybe. Although we've never seen our android, we're still groping around in the dark, and so is he. He speaks to her through a closed door. If anyone moves in the house, she barricades herself in her room. Robert asks, he's never seen her face. Virgil replies, not only him, no one has. Robert compares it to modern relationships, saying, that's like when two young people meet on the internet. They get to know each other, then reveal themselves. He adds, maybe he hasn't got a good strategy. Virgil asks, so is it more difficult for my friend to succeed in his enterprise than for us to reconstruct the Varkenson automaton? Robert responds, it depends on the number of rusty pieces you're able to bring me. Virgil buys a new mobile phone and asks Robert to teach him how to use it. Iberstone calls Virgil to thank him for everything. Virgil says, all that matters is that you're feeling better now. Iberstone explains it was just a small cut on the head. I wanted to tell you, I've looked over the inventory, Iberstone adds. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to sell. What would you advise? Virgil responds, I couldn't say. I don't know what your plans are. Why did you decide to sell in the first place? Iberstone replies, out of necessity, to start life afresh. I even had to sell the house. It's too big for me now. Sometimes I feel as though I were in a public square, but the idea of leaving here and going somewhere else fills me with dread. Virgil tells Ibiston, "You have all the time in the world to make up your mind. Don't torment yourself. Think of yourself and your future." Ibiston says, "That's the biggest torment of all. When I think about it, I can't even work." She explains that she writes novels and stories. Virgil says, "I'd like to read them. I'll buy some." Ibiston replies, "Luckily for you, you'll never manage to. I write under a pseudonym, and I loathe what I write." Virgil responds, "Artists always loathe what they make, Miss Ibiston." "Yesterday you called me Claire," Ibiston says. "I'd like you to continue." Virgil Oldman told Robert, "I'd like you to continue," she said, just like that. Robert asked, "Well, what did your friend say?" He was taken aback, but went along with what she wanted. What else could he do? Robert replied, "I would have asked her to do the same. Call me by my first name." Virgil shook her head. "That's not his style. Besides, I don't think my friend intends to court her." "Then he'll never get her out of there," Robert replied. "I would have thought he'd at least want to see her face," Robert continued. Virgil responded, "Desired's probably not the right word. Curious to see her, perhaps. But the chances of that happening seem very remote." Robert smirked. "There might be a way. It just depends on how brave your friend is." Meanwhile, Claire Ibbotson told Virgil Oldman which items she wanted to sell and which she wished to keep. Virgil, curious, hid behind a statue to catch a glimpse of her. Believing Virgil had left, Claire emerged, locked the door, and stretched before heading to her room. She soon returned. Virgil, still hidden, called Claire's mobile. As Claire went to her room to answer the phone, Virgil slipped out unnoticed.